Well, hello. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel on this Saturday afternoon, or well, Saturday morning for me, afternoon, wherever you may be, evening out for you guys in the UK. What is going on, guys? Welcome to the stream. In today's video, we are doing something a little bit different. Now, I've done this type of video before, but it's all been pre-recorded, and I had a chance to edit out and make it look pretty. But I did this a long time ago, kind of when the channel was first getting started. I did kind of an Airbus Checkride profile. We're going to go through the same thing today, but we're going to do it live, and we're going to do it in the Toliss A319. That latest update that had come out for the Toliss, there was a lot of stuff that got tweaked, and a lot of it is going to go I guess underrepresented, or maybe never even, people won't even understand what was tweaked and what was added, but a lot of it had to do with failures and how the subsystems of the aircraft actually work. So we always talk about study level aircraft, right? Well, we want study level. And I think people don't fully realize what a study level airplane actually is, because to me, a study level airplane, you actually have to study the aircraft systems so that you can handle the airplane in abnormal situations, which most people do not ever even encounter in their day-to-day streaming. But that is exactly what we're going to focus on today. Today is going to be fun-filled, full of adventures, and hopefully we don't crash. I haven't crashed yet on stream, but let's hope we can keep that record alive. So, DJ Thomas, what's going on, man? Andy, what's going on? Good to see you here. Pilot Peely, Bravo Tango Sierra, Dougal McTavish, what is going on, brother? Good to see you here. Al W, Little Breezy, DFW. Yes, sir. It is definitely blowing pretty good up here where I am as well. I'm hoping that satellite internet antenna stays on the roof, because we are getting rocked right now. Scott Morgan, good to see you here. Mrs. Jungles, pleasure as always. Hope you're doing well. Flying guitarist Sam, Vladimir, and Anthony Anderson, 5 Mike Alpha. Good to see you guys. All right, so let's do a brief overview of exactly what we're going to be doing here. You can see that we are in a severely fogged out Seattle airport. We are in Seattle, Sierra Echo Alpha, and I use this airport a lot because in the United States, you'll find some low visibility stuff. As a matter of fact, a week ago, even in LA, it was Cat 3 down there. But it's not very common in the U.S. to have super low, I'm talking sub 500 RVR or 600 RVR days, except that Pacific Northwest. The Pacific Northwest does get a lot of this fog, and a lot of times it's super low level fog, and as soon as you take off, you get above it and you can see the control tower sticking above the fog layer. But down inside that fog layer, it is low vis, and this is where we start our check rides off typically in some type of low visibility situation. So we're going to be utilizing a SMIGUS chart, or a surface movement guidance control, or surface, I forget what it stands for, but we call it the SMIGS chart. This is a low visibility taxi chart. A lot of you guys are probably used to pulling out your 20-9 or your 10-9 chart here, and you may think, oh, that looks similar. However, when you're in low visibility operations, depending on the visibility, this one is a chart for 500 to 1200 RVR. This is the taxi chart you need to use. There's a couple of symbols on here that we have to go over, and it shows you flow of traffic and how you taxi. Low visibility taxi routes are in effect, so you can only taxi certain directions on certain taxiways. It really adds to the challenge when you're in a situation like this. So we're going to start off the check ride like this at the gate. We're going to take off. We're going to just stay normal procedures briefly after we take off. We're going to do some steep turns. We're going to go through a stall series. I'm going to show you that the airplane can stall. An alternate law, we're going to do a direct law stall. Then we're going to clean it up. We're going to do a localizer approach. We're going to go missed. We'll probably do a balked landing. Then we're going to do an RNAV approach. We'll also go missed or do a balked landing off of that. Then I'm going to go through an engine fire shutdown procedure. We'll come back, fly an ILS Cat 3 single engine. Then I'm going to reposition the aircraft. We're going to do a rejected takeoff, and then we're going to do a V1 cut. So we have a full plate ahead of us. I hope you guys are ready. I've had my coffee. I hope you guys have something to drink, have a notepad ready to learn something. Let's get this show on the road. So pretty standard here, just like you've seen me do on most of our streams. We're going to get in here cold and dark, 25.5 or greater. Well, actually 25.6 or greater, what you're looking for on the batteries. We'll go ahead and turn that on. Let me make sure my volumes are set up. I just installed the BSS sound pack again for this airplane. So we've got that on. Nav light can come on. Cruise supply, ground control. Let's get the ADDONS in alignment. Funny thing, yesterday on my flight, I actually had an ADDONS fault. Or I'm sorry, an IR fault in IR1. It was an interesting little situation that we got to work through. So I'll probably post some stuff up for the podcast on that. But all right, we got that coming on. We'll leave the seatbelts on. Everything else looks good. Since we are going to be doing all kinds of failures today, we'll do our fire test here after we get everything else completed here. Let's get these screens brightened up. Dougal McTavish, notepad at the ready. Good to see you, sir. All right, looks like the ground crew's already closing up doors, but that's all right. We're not worried about that. So for our flight plan today, it's going to be pretty simple. We're just going to load we call this a round-robin flight plan. We're going to do Seattle to Seattle. We're going to load that in here. We're going to just do this as, how about our flight number is V1. We'll do a cost index of 5. It doesn't really matter. We're not going anywhere. 5,000 feet is fine. We'll align that. Seattle, we're going to depart off of runway 16 center on the Harib 6 departure. We're going to insert that, and we're going to round robin right back around to Seattle 16 center. No star. No via. Off of Anvil for the Loc approach. So that looks good. Secondary flight plan. We're going to be messing with this later, but I'm going to go ahead and load in a secondary right now. Really quick here. Nate says that's a lot of stuff. Got my notepad out. Hopefully we'll get through it all today. If something happens, maybe we'll have to do a 2-part stream, but I think we'll be able to knock it out here. So secondary is going to be interesting. What we're going to do here is we're going to depart 16 center. Now there is a single engine missed approach or a single engine departure procedure. We call it a special engine out taking off out of Seattle. So we have to program this. What we're going to do is we're going to go Seattle 161 and we'll do 10 miles. Now this should say PBD01. It says it gives you the Latin long. That might just be a software thing there, but we got to program our special engine out. That's why I'm putting that in there. That you wouldn't have a special engine out on anything available to you guys. That would be a company chart where you would see a special engine out, if I'm not mistaken, unless I don't think they have any special engine outs on the Avi tab here. Let's see. Yeah, no, there is no special engine outs. Takeoff obstacle notes. Nope, this is just the obstacle departure. It doesn't have any single engine information here. So, again, that's something that you would have in your company charts. But if we do come back, we do want to come back to the 16 center ILS. So our secondary is set. RadNav, I'm going to put Seattle. I'm going to hard tune that in VOR1. So I have constant navigation to Seattle VORTAC. Progress page, I'm going to load up Seattle and my expected departure runway of 16 center. Now for perf, let's go ahead and load this up here. I got my BSS sound settings, so I have those all muted. I'm going to give us a moderately loaded 319 here. We're going to fill this puppy up here. So let's get rid of this aft cargo. Let's see, actually that's my mistake. We'll get rid of the forward cargo. We're going to take 145 peeps, 3,000 pounds of cargo, and we'll take 19,000 pounds of fuel. So we're actually pretty moderately loaded here. Let's apply these load settings. Quick refuel and defuel. We'll do a 1+F here, and what does that give us for speeds? Oops, at 140. We are gonna flex. We are gonna flex today since we're doing a check ride. So this is the only time where we will be flexing. 143, 143, and 145. Transits now at 18,000. Engine out acceleration. This is, I believe it is 1430, so I got to change that. Engine out acceleration will be 1430 feet with a flaps 1 and a flex of 72 degrees. Ugh. Hate flexing in flight sim, but we got to do it sometimes. Dimitri, greetings, my friend. He says, greetings from Vancouver, Captain. A lazy morning today for me for a change. Dimitri, that's awesome, man. Finally get to just chill out a little bit, huh? Maybe watch a little stream here on the Airbus, do some emergencies. Welcome aboard, Dimitri. Good to have you on, my friend. All right, so we've got our aircraft loaded here. One thing I do wish, I don't know if Toliss is watching this or if they will, but I wish I had an estimated takeoff weight here. Now, actually, maybe it'll populate here. Let me, before I actually say that, 124.9 and a CG of 30.9. It should populate. Let's see here, and a block fuel of 19 even. Okay, yeah, it populates. I take that back. Never mind. I was wishing I could see it here in my pre-planning, but I guess I could see it right here. So, takeoff weight is 143.5. Landing weight is 141.4. So we're actually above. In this situation, this is one of those got yous where they get you in a Checkride. Is your landing weight right now is 141.4. In a 319, that is above your max landing weight. So you're going to have to burn fuel or do an overweight landing procedure. In reality, in an emergency situation, an overweight landing is not a big deal at all. I mean, if you're 1,000 pounds, a couple thousand over, put it on the ground. It's better than burning up and crashing. You could look at the Swiss Air for that instance. They had a similar situation where they were on fire and they elected to dump fuel, burn fuel, to get for a lighter weight for landing, but ended up to their demise. So if you can do it, overweight landing is not as big deal as you may think. The aircraft has to go through some structural maintenance checks after, of course, and of course you don't want to plop it down if you can help it, but I will take an overweight landing any day of the week and twice on Sunday instead of flying around burning fuel to get below my landing weight in the event of a serious emergency like an engine fire or engine failure. Now if it's something minor like the JetBlue incidents in LA where they had that nose wheel cocked over, everything else was fine. Yeah, you're going to burn weight and get as light as you can. That makes sense. But in a severe emergency, landing weights, it's going to be you're going to have to make a judgment call on that. But okay, our aircraft is loaded up now. That looks good. Everything else looks good there. Let's go ahead and get the fuel pumps on and we'll fire up this APU. Had another interesting fault the other day. It's been so cold in Dallas, I went to start the engines and ding, engine oil filter clog. That was interesting, but it's just because it was so cold. I mean, it's been so cold in Dallas the last couple of days, getting down to freezing. So that was just another interesting thing that happened back on the line. No audio? You guys getting audio? Should be getting audio. Everyone's getting audio. Greetings from Dubai. Sarah Kumar. I'm Scully Kumar. Welcome, man. Welcome to the stream from Dubai. That's a long ways away. Glad to have you on board, man. A pack flow, we will go normal. And let's prime up the APU here. We are still waiting on our alignment. We'll go constraint mode. Matter of fact, let's get the latest and greatest here at Seattle. I have custom preset weather just for this flight, so we're going to use default WindCom 29902. That's what I like to see. 29902 in the box. And our top altitude will be 5,000. Flap is open. Let's fire it up. If we can even see it. Craig says, I always thought that. Why dump fuel when it's an emergency? Surely it's a case of screw the landing weight, keep as much fuel as you can, and just get it down still alive. Craig, yeah, there are situations where it would be wise to burn fuel or dump fuel. And when you start getting into heavy aircraft, 7.4s, 7.6s, I mean, there may be a point where you're going to risk collapsing the gear, and you may have to dump some fuel. But speaking to the narrow-body Airbus specifically, and that is what I'm speaking to, if it's a couple thousand pounds, I mean, yeah, just do an overweight landing. It's going to be a lot better in the long run than flying around with something on fire. Andy says, you can hear me from England. Audio is all good. Good stuff, man. Greetings from Austria, 777. Welcome aboard, my friend. Welcome aboard. So, yeah, overweight landing. We talk about that every time you're in training. They discuss. And now I'm sure on different airplanes you might have different limitations. But as far as the Airbus is concerned, an overweight landing is the least of my worries in a serious emergency. All right, we'll go APU bleed on. External power can come off. Everything else is done. I didn't do my checks here. Let's go ahead and do engine 1 fire, engine 2 fire, and APU fire test. That is all good. I should turn that on as well. PA out and on. That looks good. All right, overhead panel is set. On and on, though. Everything is armed. Nav lights are on. I think we're just about ready to go here. 19, doors are closed. I think we're ready to get out of here. We're going to squawk 2000. And since we are not on VATSIM today, we're just going to do this correctly. We're going to go auto to on. We'll leave that into transponder mode. And let's do it. Let me get my checklist out here because we want to be semi-realistic. Here's kind of a study level stream, if you will. So before start checklist, we've gone over the maintenance log and tail number. Cockpit preparation's been completed. Gear pins and covers removed. Signs we are on and auto verify that here. ADDONS has been aligned. Fuel. Did get our fuel on board. We have 19 on board. Altimeter's 2992 set. EFB is checked. Windows, doors, and slides are closed and armed. Beacon will come on. Thrust levers idle. Parking brake. Transponder. Force start checklist complete, guys. Let's get this show on the road. I'm going to call the pushback truck, and we're going to brief our taxi out here.
Ground to cockpit. Toliss driving up.
So we're going to be pushing off of the North Satellite, spot 66. So let's take a look at the SMIGUS chart. Can you do APU fire engine test when things are already? Yes, you can, Nick. Yes, you can. So the SMIGS chart, you see here we got these little arrows. That indicates direction. Now, it's really important when you're, coming off of a runway. You can see here November, this is a one-way taxiway. Tango is a one-way taxiway. Going outbound here, you got a multiple direction here, so there's nothing really restricting you here. You can expect that we're going to be going north flow 16 center. So we're going to come out of 66. We're going to take Bravo all the way up to 16 left at Charlie. We're going to hold short of 16 left. Then we will cross, and then we'll report clear of 16 left, holding short of 16 center, and then we'll be good to go. So that's kind of, this one is a pretty simple SMIGS route. It's just one taxiway, but there are certain airports where you really got to pay attention to direction of flow, because you'll get out, when we get out there, you'll see what I'm talking about. When it's really 600 RVR, 500 RVR, you can't really see anything. It is it's pretty insane. Matter of fact, just the other week in LA, it was as low as I'd seen it in years. But we happen to be in Seattle today. Maybe I should have done LA. That would have made more sense since I was just out there. But yeah, you get looking out the wing here. I mean, this is probably about a 600 RVR taxi out. You can go lower than this. You can go down to 300.
Inserted. Release parking brake.
But this is where things slow down. All right, brakes released. You're clear to push.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
Let's see, Phantom 320 doesn't have his McDo set up here, so he should be on flight plan page. I'd be on perf page. It's my leg to fly. We are ready to go. Now, in real life, if you're on a check ride, they're probably going to give you some start fault. Matter of fact, let me look at the faults. Make sure we are no faults. I turned my random faults off because we're going to be doing some scheduled faults on this stream. But right now, no new faults, so that's good. We want to get out of here. 2 engines. We're going to do some normal stuff, and then we're going to get into all the emergencies. All right, let's go ahead and fire up engine numero 1. We got bleed pressure, turning 1. Not a bad engine start there. BSS, thank you, sir. What weather add-on is I using for the fog effect? This is Bravo Tango. This is all default weather right here. This is default weather. I'm not using any plugins. I'm trying to minimize for this stream. I want to try to keep the frames up as much as possible because it'll be low vis here. All right, sounds like we've got a good start on 1. Here's another thing: when you're going to be in a low visibility taxi situation, 1200 RVR and below, you want to be 2-engine taxi. You do not want to be single-engine taxiing around, because then if you ask the guy to start the next engine and you don't have him heads up, things can go wrong. So I really try to just make sure both engines are started when we are in a true low-vis situation, and I'm talking below 1200 RVR. Alright, so we got a good start on one, so let's go ahead and fire up engine 2.
Operation complete. Go ahead and set the parking brake.
Brake set, clear, disconnect.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Paolo says, good luck V1, it will be a busy flight. You got it, man. It's going to be a busy one. It's going to be a lot of fun, though. I spent, what was it, 2 weeks ago now? We were in the sim for 3 days. I was in the sim for 3 days, so I'm going to try to bring you guys some of that to the flight sim world to see what it, you know, if you want to go do this check ride yourself, you kind of use this stream as a guide on how to work through a check ride. No IAE mod on this one, unfortunately. But we're not going to be spending a lot of time looking at engines anyway. Right, we got 2 good starts.
Tow is disconnected and bypass bin has been removed. Hand signal on the right. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
Roger that. Thanks for the smooth push. We'll see you next time. All right, I'm waiting for the tug and tow out front. Just like when I said I want to start 2 engines, we're also going to do all of our flight control checks. We're going to do everything here before we get moving. Having 2 eyes outside, or 2 sets of eyes outside, is key when you're in a low visibility situation. Alright, so there's my tug, there's my pin. Let's go ahead and do our flight control checks right now before we move the aircraft. Full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral, rudder, full left, full right, neutral. Auto brakes max, takeoff config check. That comes on, and I'm going to leave this in transponder mode right now. But you could put it in TAR. That would also be dependent on the airport. Sometimes in a low vis, they actually want you squawking altitude, but that's, anyway, we're going to leave it like that for now. And that is set, everything else is set, and APU is coming down. All right. Give the flight attendants a call here. And what was our trim setting? That's one thing I did forget here. What did I say it was supposed to be? 0.5 down, so right there. All right. All right, so Smigs Taxi, we're at Alpha 1. Now this is cheating because we can see our spot here, but I'm going to try not to use this map. We're going to come straight out. I want to get to the taxiway Bravo, and we're going to follow the green viz all the way out to 16 center. So brakes off, and let's roll. I mean, you can't even see. This is nuts. That's pretty cool. All right, here we go. Here's our low-vis taxi lights. That's what you're looking for, is the green centerline taxiway lights. I'm crossing the ramp area here, and we're going to be making a right turn onto a Bravo. Now, in a situation like this, they may actually give you, report taxi, and then report passing to Bravo or a certain spot, because they can't see you from the tower. They got you. They're looking at you on radar. But I mean, this is pretty realistic right here. This is still, I've even seen it worse than this in real life. I mean, this is pretty bad, but I've seen it to where, I mean, you can only see a few feet off the nose of the airplane. Matter of fact, being in LA, there was no low-vis taxi routes on the south, let's see, is the south side of on the south terminals, and going into the gate, that was definitely sporty. Because you couldn't see, it was like, well, there's nobody in the alley, you're cleared in, but it definitely got a little sporty there going into the gate in LA. Alright, so there, we know we're on, going out to 16 left, and we're going to hold short, and then we'll cross. Can you do a Cat 2 3 approach with 1 engine on the Airbus? Yes, you can, Phoenix Flyer. Yes, you can. Now, I say yes, you can, but there could be company-specific limitations across the globe. I mean, I'm only speaking to what I know that we can do, what we're allowed to do, but some company or some operators may have different rules. They may restrict you. It depends on your training and what that company procedure will allow, or what your company SOPs will allow. But yes, the Airbus can do a Cat 3 single engine. Deja vu of Tenerife, you got it, man. Now that, I mean, yeah, imagine this at Tenerife with an airport that was not designed to handle all that traffic. You know, Seattle is designed for this, so it's not that bad, but it still slows it down. You're waiting as a passenger, everything slows down. You're like, why is my flight delayed? That's because everything is slowed down. Like, I'm going to 15 knots. In real life, I probably would, I mean, that's about right. 10, 12 knots. I mean, I'm not going to be doing much faster than that in this type of visibility, because you roll up on someone, their tail's right in front of you. You don't want to be slamming the brakes. All right, so let's cheat here. We've got, that's hotel, so we're going to keep on trucking. These 3 yellow lights here, this is a spot that you can report, so this is 4 Bravo. So in real life, you can say report passing 4 Bravo. Now, they might give you, you know, okay, I want you to take Golf, transition to Golf, and then continue. You make the right turn here, and then take Alpha, but we're going to keep it simple. Carta Joel, what's going on, man? Carta, I must say, my friend, I was checking out XP's stream last night. I got back late last night, and those engines, those Pratts on the A330, unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. Study level engines. I mean, I like how you've got it classified as the REM mod, the realistic engine mod. It's legit a study level engine that you put out, man. I can't wait to fly those around. I'm going to be doing some streams, quite a bit of streams this week, guys. Should have a lot of content coming at you this week, so I'm excited for that. Hey, guy, I'd love to see a single engine go around. Yeah, it can do it. It gets sporty. Looks like our weather just came up. Why'd our weather come up? I don't want it to come up. Go back down. It's probably because we're taxiing uphill. All right, so there's 2 Bravo. When do you know which anti-ice to use and the temperature? Well, that's a good point you bring it up. So in low visibility like this would be visible moisture, but we're above 10C here on the ground, so we are no need for anti-ice. But 10C and below on the ground, in visible moisture, you're going to want to use your engine anti-ice. Your wing anti-ice in the Airbus is not designed for ground use. If you turn this push button on, it does a 30-second self-test. I believe it's 30 seconds, and then it shuts off. All right, so here's 16 center. And tower, Airbus 1, holding short of 16 left. Airbus 1, go ahead and cross 16 left, hold short 16 center. Report clear of 16 left. All right, so we were going to go ahead and we're clear to cross. We'll turn this on. We'll turn on all our lights here. I'm not going to turn the strobe light on because that'll trigger the BSS sound pack, but in real life, we'll turn the strobe light on. We're going to cross 16 left. We'll report clear, and we'll report holding short of 16 center. Cosmic, what's going on, man? It's been a while. Glad to see you, dude. Glad to see you around, Cosmic. Carter says there's more to come after that. Fantastic. I can't wait. All right, so we're crossing. One other thing here, I'm gonna show you guys right now. Oh, see how low it is? I can see over here, but I can't see over there. These are terminating bars. When you're on VATSIM and you're clearing a runway, you want to make sure that your airplane, your tail is clear of those bars. Don't just stop short of those terminating bars. You want to make sure you are clear. So right here, I'm coming up to this terminating bar. We'll go ahead and set the brake here. Tower Airbus 1, we're holding short of 16 center, clear of 16 left. Airbus 1, okay, you are cleared for takeoff, 16 center, RNAV to, what are we on, the harbor? RNAV to... RNAV to Otley, 16 center, cleared for takeoff. Alright, 16 center, RNAV to Otley, cleared for takeoff. Alright, so our lights are on, everything else is on. Should have ran through my checklist before takeoff checklist. We would have done all that. Probably holding short there before crossing. Again, anytime the airplane is moving and below that 1000 RVR, do all my checklists with the parking brake is set. There's no need to be in a hurry. There's no need to bend metal. We're 2 likes away from 100. Can I get 100 likes before takeoff? Get 100 likes before takeoff, man. I'm about to work my butt off. And actually, I should go TARA. There we go. All right. Runway heading checks. Runway 16 center, RNAV Otley. We're clear for takeoff. You guys ready for this? Let me get my screens out here. So this is going to be normal. We're going to take off, and I'm going to vector us out, and we're going to do some maneuvers. We'll go ahead and climb up to 5,000. That looks good. Let's do it. There's 100 likes. Spool them up 50%. Here we go. We're flexing. Man flex, SRS runway, auto thrust blue. RVR just dropped. 80 knots, thrust set. V1. Rotate. Positive rate. Hero. Nav. Should be breaking out here on the tops pretty soon. There we go. This is Seattle for you. Can't see anything in front of you. Before you reach 2,000 feet, you're already on top. There's our acceleration altitude. Now it's giving me a decel, but that's because it's a round robin flight path. So I'm going to manually select 250. Thrust climb. Open climb 5,000. We'll go autopilot 1. And I'm going to go ahead and select heading. Let's make it 270. Don't worry about that decelerate. That's just because it wants to come back. It thinks we're coming right back into Seattle, which I did set up the flight plan for that, but who's cutting logs with the chainsaw here? There's our flap speed, flap 0 up takeoff checklist. That disarm there. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and clear out the weather here because I want to do cav oak here. We'll bump the viz up so we can do some of our maneuvers so you guys can see. In a real check ride scenario, you'd probably be IMC the entire time, but we are streaming, so I want to keep it somewhat enjoyable for the eye. Matter of fact, if we look out the left wing, can we see it? There we go. What is that mountain? Somebody tell me what that mountain is. Not Rushmore. What is that mountain? Oh my gosh, it's killing me. No, it was not current weather. That was for low visibility taxi purposes. That's what that weather was. We were purposely set it up that way. All right, we're speed alt star 5,000. Actually, we're going to do stalls, so let's go up to, we're going to do stalls. We're going to go to 8,000. All right, let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do first. Our first maneuver of the day is going to be steep turns. So, we all know that the Airbus is fly-by-wire. We know that you can pretty much set it and forget it, right? With our wonderful fly-by-wire, you can set a pitch and bank and let go of the stick. All right, well, that's true up to a certain point. So, the airplane will actually have what's commonly referred to as bank angle hold. Well, it's really not bank angle hold. It's really maintaining as 1G. We'll go up to 33 degrees. Once you go past 33 degrees angle of bank, the airplane will roll back to 33 degrees. So the steep turn at 45 degrees angle of bank, you're manually going to have to keep that bank angle in at 45 degrees angle of bank. You're also going to want to have a little bit of back pressure in there to keep that, that 1G throughout the maneuver. So will be a demonstration of the fly-by-wire modeling on the Toliss. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the autopilot. Give me the bird. We'll turn our flight directors off. I should have stabilized at 8,000 first, but I'll do it manually here. Don't worry about that decelerate there in the box. We'll level it out here, we'll get stable, and then we're going to start our steep turn out to the left. So let me show you real quick what I'm talking about. If I roll the airplane 33 degrees angle of bank and let go, my hands off the side stick, we're maintaining that angle of bank. And actually what you're maintaining is a 1G maneuver. The airplane is striving to maintain 1G. Now, if I go back to neutral, obviously it'll maintain neutral. Now let's see, if we go past 33 degrees, watch what happens. I'll go past 33 degrees, I'm going to let go of the stick. It's coming back, and it's going to stabilize right about that 33 degree angle of bank mark. So we know that it's modeled correctly. Now we're going to execute the steep turn maneuver. And basically this maneuver is so that you understand how the flight control laws work in the Airbus. So we're 8,000 feet. Let's go ahead. We're going to roll it in 45 degrees angle of bank. We're going to try to maintain where we're 8,100. I'm going to come down a little bit, get right back to 8,000 feet there. We're going to maintain 8,000 feet and try to maintain 45 degrees angle of bank throughout the turn. You can leave the auto thrust on. You can do it with the auto thrust off too. Right about that 60% thrust is what you need. But here you go. Lock it in that bank. And you're just trying, you can look at the bird. If you keep that bird splitting the horizon line, that's going to keep you level. Some guys don't like to use the bird. I prefer the bird. See, I got a little low on that bank there. I'd go ahead and keep that bank angle locked in. A little bit more bank. We started at what, 270, so we're going to go all the way back around. We'll make a 360 here. Just very small corrections. You guys in flight training now doing steep turns in the 172, I tell you what, that is 10 times harder than doing it in the Airbus. But still got to do it. So we'll roll wings level where we started at 270. So when I'm in the steep turn about 10 degrees prior to 270, I'm going to start rolling wings level. Now as I kill that bank angle, I'm going to be generating more lift. I'm going to have more efficient wings, so I got to add a little bit of forward pressure on the stick so I don't climb as I roll out of the steep turn. Here we go, approaching 10 degrees prior. I'm going to go ahead and start rolling out. A little bit of forward pressure. Don't have to be very aggressive, nice and smooth. A little bit of forward pressure to keep the airplane from climbing. And then we'll roll wings level here, back where we started. Splitting that donut on the horizon line, we can stay almost perfectly level. All right, so that's a steep turn maneuver. Look at our chart here. That's pretty darn good. Look at that circle. That is pretty good. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a stall, clean. Auto thrust is coming to idle. Auto thrust off. We're just going to leave it just like this. So, Sam says, wait a second, where's my auto thrust on the 50 degree steep turns? Yeah, no auto thrust in those 172s, man. All right, so in normal law, the airplane, by definition, can still stall. Now, I know they say, well, it can't stall, and Any good pilot will tell you that the airplane can stall in any law, at any speed, at any altitude. But there are protections in place to prevent you from stalling, and we're going to kind of go through those protections right now. So with the autopilot off, the auto thrust off, we're just maintaining 8,000 feet here. The thrust is at idle. I'm approaching my VLS. This is the lowest selectable speed by the autopilot. So if I had the autopilot on, matter of fact, I'll turn the autopilot on. So I'll get rid of we'll just leave it at FPA 0. So as I go into VLS, the autopilot will actually kick off. That's your first sign that you're entering a stall. So approaching V alpha prot. Excuse me. So I got VLS, V alpha prot. We should get an autopilot disconnect. This is the Tiger Tail or V alpha prot. There it goes. Autopilot kicks off, and the airplane will prevent you from stalling. Now, if I continue, so I'm going to continue to pitch back on the stick, right? So now I'm going back on the stick. I've hit alpha floor. Alpha floor is a predictive function of the auto thrust system to help prevent you from getting into a stalled situation. So now I'm in alpha floor. I have to recover the airplane, so I'm going to get my thrust back. I'm going to go into Toga. Now I'm at Toga lock. I should be able to disconnect it with the disconnect push. Oh, you know what? I don't think I have it bound. Well, that's interesting. Okay, so I had to disconnect it with the push button there. So when you're into, now I'm in thrust lock, now you just move the thrust levers. So to get out of Toga lock, let me check my bindings real quick, because I don't know if that's on, let me check my bindings here. Joystick, throttle. Autopilot, auto mode's off, so it should have disconnected it. When you go into alpha floor, I'm going to go ahead and turn around so we don't end up in the mountains. When you go into alpha floor like that, that means your thrust is at maximum thrust. You're at Toga thrust. When you disconnect the auto thrust, it's going to go into thrust lock, which means the thrust levers are going to stay where they are, and if you move the thrust levers, you're going to get out of thrust lock. But I had to disconnect it with the FCU here because my instinctive disconnect push button wasn't bound, so we'll clear that out. But that's another protection. So the autopilot kicks off. I'm pulling full aft on the stick. I've got protection, slow speed protection, keeping the airplane from exceeding the critical angle of attack. And if I continue to pull full aft, the alpha floor system will kick in. Now, alpha floor, it's important to understand that alpha floor is a predictive function of a stalled situation. So it can happen at any airspeed. It can happen at 7-8 Mach. It just depends on what the airplane is sensing. If it feels that you're going to be at a critical stall, it's going to trigger alpha floor. I wonder if I can trigger it here. Let's see if I can pull full aft. There we go, see? 220 knots, I just triggered alpha floor. It's a predictive function. So that's good, we see that. Now I gotta go through this again because I don't have my instinctive disconnect push button bound. There we go. Alright, so we got a little carried away there. Let's go ahead and level off here. What we're going to do now is do a alternate law. There we go. Alright, so we're going to be an alternate law. So now we're in alternate law. So now the airplane can stall in alternate law. It will try to prohibit me from stalling by gently lowering the nose. So I'm going to kind of keep just a steady climb here, about 2.5, 3 degrees. And what's going to happen is it's going to... Stall. See, there we go. Stall, stall. So it's hard to describe this. I wish I had a joystick cam. But the airplane actually started pitching down to prevent the stall, but I can override that in alternate law. So in alternate law, the airplane is stalled right now. We are stalled. This Airbus is stalled in alternate law. So now we'll recover. We're going to brake that, get that nose down, smoothly increase that thrust. And nice and easy on the pull out. You don't want to be too hard on the pull out because you'll get a secondary stall. And we'll recover the airplane. So in alternate law, you definitely can stall. You still have a stability protection where it will pitch trim down, but you can override that and stall the airplane in alternate law. All right, so the last stall we're going to go through is a approach to landing stall. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the thrust levers to idle. We'll extend flaps 1. As we're going through 8,000, actually I'm going to spin this up out of the way so we don't get that warning horn. Now, in alternate law, if I lower the landing gear, I'm going to go into the third law of the Airbus. I'm going to go into a direct law. In this law, you have a direct correlation between side stick movement and flight control deflection. So it's a very sensitive, twitchy flight regime, if you may. It's very twitchy because you have a direct movement or a direct correlation between the side stick and the flight control surface movement. So I got flaps 2 in there. I'm going to go ahead and drop the gear. Now look at my PFD. It says use man pitch trim. Whoa. So now I'm in direct law. VFE next by Sam, we'll go flaps 3. We're going to do a flaps 3 gear down direct law stall. So this is a full-blown, like flying a Boeing or a Cessna 172. You get slow, it's going to stall, nothing's going to stop you. So in this situation, we're going to demonstrate a stall recovery, and then we're going to go into a go-around / cleanup. So I'm going to keep that. I'm going to try to pitch up just a little bit so we continue to slow down. So coming in, say the only reason you'd be in this law, generally speaking, is because you're coming in to land. You had a failure, you're in alternate law, you lowered the gear, and now you're landing. And there we go. We're stalled. So recover, lower that angle of attack, start getting that thrust in smoothly. As soon as you come out of VLS, start coming back on the stick. Nice and smooth. You don't want to get a secondary stall. Now, as soon as I transition to a positive rate, we're going to go around flaps. Positive rate, gear up. And now we're treating it like a go-around. We're going to go ahead and level off at 10,000 feet. And then we'll recover the airplane. There's our F-speed. We'll go flaps 1. And actually, let's make it 9,000 feet. I'm actually very impressed with the Toliss modeling of this abnormal and direct law. Now, most of you guys will never, ever be in this situation in your flight sim, but when we say we want a study level airplane, this is why. Alt star, we're going to level at 9,000. I'm going to rebuild my automation. Let's go flap 0. Flight director's on, autopilot. Oh. Out. Clear you off here. Let's go 9,000, and we're going to recover. Clear you out. All right. Now I wonder if I drop the gear again, bring the gear up, we're stuck in alternate law. I was hoping we'd be able to get out of alternate law. There we go, autopilot 1. Let's spin it around to heading 040. Auto thrust on, speed. Put you back in the climb mode. And we'll clear you out. Alright, now let me see if I drop the gear. So we're still in alternate law. I should be able to be back in normal law now. Let me make sure everything is back to normal. Everything's back to normal. Fault scenarios. Reset all. Gear up. Interesting. We're still in alternate law. That's alright. We'll keep it in alternate law. Alright. Anyway, so there's our stall series. So you guys got to see that. Dimitri says, there has been a lot of talk lately on how good the fly-by-wire mod is. Microsoft Flight Simulator. Try using this on that plane and see what happens. I don't think it's there yet, man. I definitely don't think it's there yet. But yeah, this is exactly what, when we say we want a steady level airplane, this is what you're asking for. I'm going to try to turn this wind noise down. Oh, there we go. Whew. DJ Thomas, thank you for the $5 donation, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir. I don't see a message with your donation, but I appreciate the support on the channel, man. Thank you very much. All right. So we've done our steep turns, we've done our stalls. Now let's load up for a localizer approach into Seattle. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce speed to 210 knots. We're going to descend down to 7,000. And let's come down here to the box. We're going to go off of Anvil. And can we go direct yet? No, we're not going to go direct yet. Let's do this. Let's clear P-pause. We're going to clear Otley. We're going to clear from the top. We're going to set for a localizer approach now. So for a local approach, we're going to turn our glide slope mode off. Up here on the overhead, glide slope mode is off. Put you back on the nav too. Everything looks good on the overhead. Auto brakes off. And let me bring my box down here. Perf data. We'll go ahead and activate the approach phase. Confirm. Altimeter 2 Temperature was 15. Wind 0 for 0. Let's pull up our charts here so we no longer need those. Seattle localizer 16 center. So we're going to use it off of the ILS chart. That's why we put our localizer push button on. All right, here we go. Localizer 16 center, final approach course 164 and 111.7. We're going to get our LS push buttons on. Now for a localizer, we are going to do the MDA, which is must-do addition. So we're going to add 50 feet, so 800 plus 50 is going to be 850 in the MDA box. That is set. We're going to be config full. And if we have to go miss, it's at or below 2,000 out to Tebney and then hold. So that looks good. Our glide slope push button is on. Auto brakes off. Manual brakes. Let me change the weather and condition here. Let's go ahead and select non-precision approach. Apply changes. All right, where are we in respect to Anvil? Let's flip it around. ANVIL. Direct 2, here we go. All right, flaps 1. We're going to go ahead and descend and maintain 3,000. Thrust idle, open descent. I'm going to use the speed brakes to help get us down because we're 8 miles from Anvil. It's going to be a little bit tight getting in here. So I'm going to do this with a word of caution. We are still in alternate law. We should be in normal law right now. But I don't know if the airplane is truly in alternate law. Well, yeah, it says flight control protection lost. Alternate law. So we are in alternate law. So we're going to do an alternate law localizer approach to 16 center. MDA means minimum decision height. Yes, it does. Depending on the airline that you work for, your company SOPs, and when you're doing a non-precision approach, they may ask you to add an additive to the MDA. A DA, or a decision altitude on a precision approach, most of the time will not require an additive. Again, that's going to depend on the operator. But there are a lot of operators that when you're using an MDA, you do have to have some type of additive, whether it be 50 feet or whatever it may be. So in this case, we are going to use a 50-foot additive. All right, so we're turning in towards Anvil. LS push buttons on. Now, one thing that I'm noting here is we still have a glide slope indicator, which with the glide slope mode on, we should not have that. That should be inhibited. But we're gonna try not to use that. Look at that. I don't even know if it is correct or not. But we got speed brakes down, 4 for 3,000. I think we're gonna be good. Once we cross Anvil, I'm going to use the flight path method of 3 degrees. So we're going to do track FPA mode. I'm going to set a 3-degree path, and we're going to fly a 3-degree path down towards the runway. Now, once I lower the landing gear, we're going to be on direct law, which is going to be interesting. And then what I'll probably do, instead of going to a balked landing, actually, screw it. We'll do it. We'll do an alternate law. We're going to do a balked landing to go around to the mist, and then I will reload, and we'll get into the V1 cuts. And told us you can get back to normal law by turning off and on, do a FAC reset. Let me see. Look at that, speed alt star, autopilot back on. All right, so we don't need to reload the airplane. Look at that, we're back in normal law. Thank you. Simone Tomba, thank you, man. Appreciate it. FAC resets, got us back in. I should have thought of that. Appreciate it, man. Thank you, thank you. All right, so we're back in normal law. Everything is good to go. We're at 3,000 feet from Anvil. Maintain 3 till established. You're cleared localizer 16 center approach. I'm going to slow to 180 knots. We're cleared localizer approach. Actually, we're going to use the LOC push button, not the glide slow push button. So we got LOC blue. After passing Anvil, we can cross Sodo at 1900. So I'm going to set 1900 in the altitude window. And track FPA, 3 degrees. Here we go. Oh, went the wrong way there. I'm going to use 3.5 to initially get us started. There's VFE next minus 10. Let's go flaps 2. All right, so we're track FPA mode, LOC. LOC is captured. Simone Tumba, I'm actually very impressed that you knew that, sir. Thank you again. That very good. All right, we're going to go ahead and start configuring a little bit early here. So I can see that I'm going to be just fine there. I'm going to go ahead and go back to 3 degrees. So when you're doing a LOC approach, I'm doing a lot here while I'm talking. I don't know, my speed brake is still out.
2,000.
You don't want the airplane to level at 1900, so I'm going to go ahead and spin this up. Oh, see, it leveled on me. I caught it, FPA 3 degrees. But you do not want to leave your 1900 in there, because if you level, then it'll throw you off, and then you'll be high, or you could blow, or you'll probably be high because you'll level off at 1900, and then it'll mess up the rest of your approach. Flaps 3. I'm actually going to push the level off here briefly since we're a tad early. Soto 1900. Checks. And down we go, 3 degrees. So that was kind of a bad job. I want to try to minimize that leveling there. I'm going to do 2.5. Shallow it out just a tad. 2.5, flaps full, spoilers armed, cabin is checked, landing checklist, cabin crew advised, auto thrust speed, ECAM memo, landing all green, a landing checklist is complete. We were on the localizer for 16 center, down to our minimums of 850. Angel Lawrence, thank you. Welcome to Private Pilot, my friend. Exclamation point, welcome. Exclamation point, welcome. For more information on your perks, thank you so much for joining the channel, my friend. All right, so what I'm going to do is simulate a bulk landing. We're not going to butter. I'm going to actually physically try to create a bounced landing. I'm not even going to flare it. I'm just going to smash. I'm going to intentionally smash so we can go into a go-around. I'll show you what a bulk landing looks like. If we can even see the runway. If we don't see anything, we might just have to go around. So on a non-precision approach at minimums, if you don't see anything, you're going around.
Hundred above.
Rip.
Minimum 500.
All right, let's go around. Go around flaps. Positive rate. Gear up. Toga, SRS, go around track. At or below 2,000. Alt star. Wish we had the soft go around mode there. Speed alt star, auto thrust. Leveling 2,000. It's a very, very quick level off here on the go-around. That's why that soft go-around function would be really nice. But not in the CEO. Speed Alt Star, we're leveling 2,000 feet. There's F-speed, flaps 1. Alright, we're going to go around track. And here comes flaps 0. After takeoff checklist, I'm going to go ahead and select speed. We're going to do 230 in the hold. Green, we're in a 319, but we're going to do 230 in the hold. Speed alt. And we'll go ahead and climb back up to 4,000 now that we're past our... Once we pass Tebney, it's at 5,000. Yep, after Tebney, up to 5,000. Tebney intersection, here we go. Open climb. Thrust climb 5,000. Soft go around, that's on the Neo. It will achieve a 2,000 feet per minute climb rate, and whatever thrust is required to do that, it'll do that. It won't go, you won't be just using maximum Toga thrust. It makes the go around a lot less abrupt, but as you can see there, as we climb through the top layer, the go around still wasn't as bad as most people think it is. The Airbus actually handles a go around pretty darn good. So, all right, then we would enter the hold, speed alt star. What we're going to do now is I'm going to vector us off instead of flying the hold, and I'm going to give us an engine fire. We're going to work through an engine fire. We're going to come back around. We're going to do an ILS approach. We're going to land, and then we're going to do a V1 cut, and then an engine failure, or RTO. So I know I'm not paying too much attention to chat, but I'm trying to get a lot of information out there so you guys can see kind of a little bit about what a check ride really would be if you were taking one in your Airbus. So I'm going to fly heading 200, 230 on the speed. And what we're going to do here is we're going to load up ILS 16 center, approach via Novia, insert, clear Tebney. Oh no, rip. I knew it would happen. Playing around in the box too much. Rip. That's going to be an X-plane crash for you, I think, gentlemen. Phoenix Flyer says soft go around is standard in the 7.3. If you want to go full go around, you have to press Toga 2 times. Interesting. Phoenix Flyer, I had no idea. I had no idea. Well, rip. There she goes. So, all right. Well, I got good news for you, though. I have a pre-save situation for V1 cut. So all I got to do is relaunch X-plane, and then I will just load the preset, and we'll be good to go. Yep, if you remember, give me the rips in chat. Give me the rips in chat if you remember, because we are ripping right now. Bravo Tinga says we had fun while it lasted. Yes, sir. But that's okay. I had a feeling, I don't know how much the box can take. That's one thing when you get into desktop simulators, you really start going through all these McDo changes. You can get stuff all messed up. But I have a pre-saved situation on the runway where we can do a V1 cut. We're going to do that right now. So let's see. Toliss load and load that. And load at 16 center. Confirm. And start flight. There we go. So we're going to reload that. We're good to go. PRS says, God bless the autosave function. You got it, man. Captain Longhaul says, July last year we had yellow hydraulic failure and had to divert to Orlando. Captain had to take over control. Oof. Yellow hydraulic, man. Hydraulics is one thing that you don't want to mess with. You just, that can definitely end up in a bad situation. But at least you guys got it down, got it on the ground. That's awesome, dude. I have been pretty lucky so far, knock on wood. I haven't really had any serious hydraulic issues. I've had I've caught a hydraulic leak on the ground before. I saw one leaking out on the ramp. Like, I'm pretty sure we're leaking some fluid here. Well, that's all right. Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to do next. Anchor Borua? Man, I hope I didn't butcher that name. Thank you so much, man. He comes in with a $20 bomb donation. He says, never learned so much about the bus. Got to get back to the sim and try this. Thanks for going through all of this. Anchor, thank you so much, man. I appreciate your support on the channel. Glad you're learning on the Airbus. I know it kind of seems like you're drinking from a fire hose right now. I'm trying to get a lot of stuff out there, but at the same time, I'm trying to kind of replicate the pace and the speed of which you would be expected to perform these different maneuvers during a check ride. And you know, if you have two people in the airplane, it's a little bit more, I would say, streamlined. You know, me doing everything at once, flying and talking and streaming, just can make it a little bit chaotic. But I'm glad you're learning, man. Really appreciate the donation. Thank you so much, sir. We're going to get into probably the most fun part of it now, the V1 cuts here. So let me clear off all this stuff. Let me disable just a few plugins here. I just want to get rid of, I know, AirHall I don't need, Project Fly I don't need, we don't need the old landing speed, and Gizmo, I can't stand Gizmo, so we'll get that off there. Alright, so the next one we're going to do is a V1 cut. Load selected situation. Boom. Just like that. Remember to bind autopilot disconnect while at it. Ooh. Thank you. While we're sitting here. Okay, autopilot disconnect. And somebody said there is no auto thrust. I'm really surprised there's no auto thrust instinctive disconnect. Okay, I'm going to let her finish her announcements. Turn down the audio here so I can hear myself think. Niels says sometimes it's good to gag a tad on the fire hose, get a bit outside of the comfort zone. Niels, you got it, man. Captain Longhaul says we had a crack under the left gear and I missed it on the walk around. After NTSB investigation, it was too small for anyone to catch. Wow, man. Yeah, I mean, unless it's really puddling up out there, just a small crack, that much pressure in the system, I could imagine it start leaking out. But hey, man, at least everything worked out. Everybody's okay. That's a win in my book, sir. Keep Drive says hello. Look at my channel. There's a lot of interesting. No self-promoting here, my friend. All right. So we are loaded up. We are going to do. Actually, you know what? I want to do an RTO first. Let's do that. So this is a V1 cut. We're going to do an engine flame out at, we'll do a high speed abort. We'll do 107 knots. Apply. And let me just make sure my V speeds are set. Alright, so this is going to be a V1, an engine failure prior to V1. Let's talk just a little bit about V speeds. So we should know by now V1 is what we call a decision speed. Decision speed basically is your go or no-go decision. If you are at V1 or above, if you have an engine fire or failure, you are still going. I mean, it is, you at that point, you have different things that come into play: balance, field length, your ability to stop, runway conditions, runway slope. So at V1, your best course of action and the correct course of action, 99.9% of the time, and I say 99.9% of the time because there's a scenario which I'll tell you here in a second, you're going to continue the takeoff. You're going to handle it as an in-flight emergency, even if the wheels are still on the ground. Now, I say 99.9 because there was an incident in Charlotte several years ago where a gentleman, I believe they hit a deer. They hit something on the runway in Charlotte. Somebody probably pull up the article, but he was past V1. They rejected the takeoff and stopped the airplane on the runway still, and everybody was okay. And it was later concluded that had they have continued to take off, there might have been no guarantees that they would have been able to come back around with the damage that the airplane had taken. So That's why I say it's a 99.9% of the time situation. But you train that V1 is your decision speed. If you mess up and you abort past V1 and someone gets hurt or even worse killed, that's on you. I mean, that is a pilot error. You at V1, you're supposed to go. You're supposed to treat it as an in-flight emergency. But as with anything in aviation, I hate to blanket statement and say 100% of the time it's always going to be this. Because there is one scenario that may come up that no one has thought about where you may even rather go off the end of the runway than go airborne. I mean, if you're going down the runway and both your wings fall off past V1, you're probably not going to rotate, right? So just things to think about. Now, there's an 80 knot call out. Flying Guitar Sam says, yeah, it was a PSA jet. Yeah, I think it was a PSA jet. So an 80 knot call out, some airlines will have an 80 knot call out or 100 knots. Whatever it may be, that call out is to not simulate, but it is to announce to the crew that, hey, you're now at a high speed decision point. So up until, for me, we train with 80 knots. We use an 80 knot call out. At 80 knots, I know that anything past 80 knots is going to be a high speed abort. So I'm really not going to abort for anything small past 80 knots because you start getting into that decision where, what if, it's a high-speed reject? What is the runway condition like? But, of course, anything yellow or red, engine fire failure, you're going to abort the takeoff below V1. Up until 80 knots, if you have something small, like, just anything small below 80 knots, you're going to stop the takeoff. That's a low-speed abort. Above 80 knots, you do have some decisions to make because you have to understand that you are now in the high-speed abort phase. I've had to do several aborts in my career going down the runway, and I will tell you, when you have RTO armed in the Airbus and you do a reject even past 80 knots, up until a few knots below V1, if you do a reject, those brakes will get you stopped. They are very, very powerful. You can definitely feel the G loading. It's a very violent, depending on your speed, it can be a very violent situation, and maintaining aircraft control is your number one priority in any type of abort scenario. So that's my little spiel on that. We are going to do a prior to V1 abort, so you're going to see that right now. Everything is set. Let's do auto brakes max, takeoff config, and cabin check. So let's do this here. All right, pull up the ND. We're going to simulate. What kind of failure is it? Engine 2 flame out. Let's do engine 2 fire. All right, engine 2 fire at 107 knots. Here we go. Man flex, SRS runway, auto thrust blue. Project, I have control. Whoa! $70 knots. Acknowledge the warning. Flight attendant stations, we've rejected on the runway. Engine 2 fire. Engine master 2 off. Confirm engine 2 master. Confirm. Engine 2 master off. Engine fire push button. Push. Confirm engine fire 2 push button. Confirm. Push. Agent 1+2 discharge. Agent 1 discharge. Agent 2 discharge. Can we see it? Yeah, that's the sight you do not want to see right there. Engine master off. It is off. ATC notify. Then obviously at this point the first officer will be talked on the radio saying we need trucks. If evac required, evac command on. Battery 1+2 off. We're not going to do the full evac procedure right now, but there's your abort on the runway at 80 knots. That was pretty let's look at that again. That was actually pretty ugly. But I mean, that yaw was just really caught me off there, and I was even expecting it. Going down the runway, fat, dumb, and happy. Everything's normal. Engine 2 fire, abort. Reject, I have control. That's probably a rudder pedal issue right there. Versers, spoilers. Now you actually don't call spoilers when you're on a reject, because if you have an ECAM like that engine fire, your spoiler page is blocked by the ECAM, or by the fire ECAM. Reject, you set the parking brake. At this point, it becomes a song and dance between the first officer and the captain. First officer is communicating with air traffic control. I'm going to be communicating with the flight attendants. I don't know the flight attendant stations. That means they're armed. Hang tight. Wait for the evac. We're going to fight the fire first. You're going to run through that ECAM. You're going to get the bottle push, get the engine shut down, try to get those squibs in the engine. And then if you have to do an evac, we'll do an evac after this, after the next one. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. And let's reload. Now I think it's going to mess me up here though. If the engine is off, I think I might have to reload the airplane here. Let's go back, load selected. I think it failed. Does it fail the engine? Oh, let's see, hold on. Clear that. Yeah, we're gonna reset. We'll reload that. That's one thing I've noticed about start new. There we go. So now we'll do it past V1. Is that yaw realistic though, expected or not? Yes, it will be realistic. Now that one was definitely, my rudder pedals, you guys know, in the real airplane, it's probably a little bit easier to maintain control in the real airplane, especially with my rudder pedals. But when you lose an engine, you're definitely going to get that yaw moment. You're going to see it here when we do this V1 cut now, past V1. So let's go ahead and load the V1 cut simulation. John says, finally got my first stripe. John, welcome to the channel, man. Thank you so much for joining the channel. Exclamation point, welcome. For more information on your new benefits, John. Glad to have you aboard, my friend. Awesome stuff. Bravo Tango Sierra, thank you for the $2 donation. I was loving today's stream. Hey, man, I'm glad you guys are loving it. A little bit different. Definitely changes the... definitely changes from our standard, fly from A to B. I didn't mix it up here. I'm definitely working hard, but I hope you guys are enjoying it. So 3048 on the altimeters. One thing I want to change here, loading. I'm going to change the load of this airplane a little bit. Apply. 45, 45, 47. So I'm going to change this 145, 145, 147. Flex 72 is set. Flaps 1. Alright, so now in this one we're actually going to do the same, or a failure at V1, but we're going to continue on. Let me look at the failure scenario. Flame out. Yeah, we'll do a flame out. So we'll do engine 2 flame out at 141 knots. What's our V1? 145. So we'll do it at 146. All right. So this is a V1 cut. This is the situation where we're going. Ooh, and I have to bind my trim here. So rudder trim. Rudder trim. We definitely want to bind that. Let's toggle tablet. Here we go. Is there a rudder trim? You definitely want to have your rudder trim bound. I realize this. full pitch, yaw trim left. Let me just see if this works. Yeah, it does. Okay, so reset. All right, so that'll work. So I actually want to change you to yaw trim right, and I want to change you to yaw trim left, and I'm going to tell you why. All right, left, right, reset. Okay, so this is a V1 cut simulation now. We're going to have an engine failure at V1. We're going to continue the takeoff and fly our single engine climb out. Now, let me see if it is in here. It is in here. So it's the 161 radial. We're going to fly that. So this is why you want to have, if you have a special single engine procedure, you're going to have it loaded in your secondary flight plan. The airplane, when you lose an engine at V1, this side slip indicator now becomes what's called the beta target. And the goal of the beta target is to help you get the airplane in trim before you hand the airplane over to the autopilot. So at the engine failure, we're going to continue flying the airplane. We're not even going to touch the ECAM until we're 400 feet and we're climbing away. You fly first, aviate, navigate, then communicate. So we're going to aviate the airplane away from the ground. I'm going to be trimming the airplane and trying to center the beta target. You'll notice that this will be a beta target because it becomes blue. It will no longer be this amber or gold color. Once that is centered, everything's stabilized, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the autopilot, and then we're going to continue with a V1 climb out profile. So what happens is I'm going to just let the airplane continue to climb out until our single engine acceleration altitude of 1440 feet. At that point, I'm going to level off the airplane, let it accelerate. A few knots prior to green dot, I'm going to pull for open climb. We're going to continue to climb out, and we're going to vector ourselves back around for a hand flow and ILS back into Seattle. So this is an actual V1 cut profile. I've done this in the sim. I've done this in the I've done this in the real sim, not in the real airplane, thank God. I've done it in the real sim numerous times. So we're going to go through it together. And the accuracy of this ECAM, what you're about to see, is about as real as you're ever gonna see. I mean, I was very impressed with this Toliss A319 when I worked through this engine fail procedure. Now, a lot of you are gonna ask, why don't you try to restart the engine? Depending on the type of failure, you may attempt to restart it or you may not. There is no damage. I wish there was an engine failure here that said engine 2 severe damage or separation, because there's two different failures that you can have. You can just have a flame out where, yeah, restarting the engine, if everything is still intact, you didn't hear any loud bangs, your oil is still there, you still have your fluids. A restart may be very well, maybe a very good idea to do as an engine relight. But most of the time in the sim, they're going to give you what we call an engine severe damage and separation failure. What happens is there's a loud bang at V1. You're simulating that the engine just basically blew up, shot its core out, and it's damaged. So that procedure is a little bit more lengthy, I guess, because you got to go through your engine fail procedure, then you got to go through your engine shutdown and securing procedure. And I'm going to do both of those for you here on this go round. So that's why we're not going to restart it. If I could have a fire or if I could have an engine severe separation damage, I would choose that, but we're just going to use the flame out option because that's all we have available to us. So here we go. Auto brakes max, takeoff config, cabin check. Are you guys ready to see what a V1 cut looks like? Engine failure on takeoff. I'll get my camera view set up here. I'm going to leave this set up, and 18,000 brakes released. Let's do it. Actually, I don't like that camera view. There we go. We're going to spool it up 50%, just like we always do. Normal takeoff. And there we go. Man flex, SRS runway. Auto thrust blue. $80 knots. Thrust set. V1. Engine failure. Rotate. Get the airplane straight. Positive rate. Gear up. Trimming it out. Should be about a 12-degree. So that beta target is blue. Select heading. This is where I would love to have an FO. Activate secondary. Manage nav. Autopilot 1. Oh, that's because my rudders, my hand was, my foot still on the rudder. Autopilot 1. See, so it should have trimmed it out there. That would be more center in real life, but that's still pretty good. We're trimming out. All right, we're at 400 feet. I have control ECAM actions. At this point, the first officer is going to be going through the ECAM now, but I'm going to simulate going through it with you. We also got to make sure we hit our acceleration altitude. All right, engine 2 fail. Engine mode selector, ignition. Engine mode selector, ignition. Thrust lever 2, idle. Confirm thrust lever 2, confirm, idle. If no relight after 30 seconds, engine 2 master off. Now in real life, this 30-second timer is actually counting down, and this is at the time of failure. So we know that it's been about 30 seconds since we've had this failure. So we're gonna go ahead and just say that that's no relight, engine 2 master off. Confirm engine 2 master, confirm, off. If damage, this is what I talked about prior to taking off, we are gonna say that it is damaged. Engine fire, push button 2, push. Engine 2 fire, push button, confirm, confirm. Pushed. After 6 seconds, discharge. We're going to wait till that. 3, 2, 1. Agent 1, discharge. All right. If no damage, does not apply. Clear engine 2 fail. Clear engine 2 fail. Engine 2 shutdown. If no fuel leak, imbalance monitor. So we come down here, fuel, and balance monitor. TCAS mode, select TA. There we go, I'm gonna push to level off. We're gonna begin acceleration. There's our single engine acceleration altitude. So vertical speed 0. Airplane is going to accelerate. Cross bleed, shut. So come up to the overhead, cross bleed, shut. All right, avoid icing conditions. Clear engine 2 shutdown, clear engine 2 shutdown. All right, stop ECAM. Here's our F speed. Flaps 1. And now, of course, the other guy will still be talking on the radio saying, hey, you know, I'm going to need to return, blah, blah, blah. We've had engine failure. Okay, so Airbus 1, turn right, heading 230, expect vectors, ILS 16 center, climb and maintain 4,000. All right, 160 on the heading, climb and maintain 4,000, Airbus 1. All right, so we're continue ECAM. All right, we have some inoperative systems here. Hydraulics, we're just doing a quick briefing. We have one hydraulic system operating. We're using the PTO. Well, we actually have two. We have one engine driven. PTO is pressurizing the yellow system. Clear hydraulic, clear hydraulic. Electrical page. We have generator 1 powering AC bus 2. That's a reminder. I'm starting the APU. Once we get the APU firing up, we'll clear electric. Clear electric. Stop ECAM. Flap 0. Continue ECAM. All right, bleed. We have one bleed, pressurizing both packs. Clear bleed, clear bleed. Status. Stop status. After takeoff checklist. So now we're going to do the after takeoff checklist as a crew. Discard my spoilers, make sure everything else is good. Here's 3 to 5 prior to green dot. I'm going to pull for open climb. Now I'm going to go ahead and select MCT, or max continuous thrust. Since I wasn't in Toga, I'm actually going to come back to climb, and then I'm going to go back to MCT And now I have thrust MCT. This is maximum continuous thrust, single engine in the Airbus. So I'm getting a little bit more power. Now, if performance was necessary, I could have gone to Toga there on that engine failure as well, but everything was fine without it, so we left it in flex. But now we're going to go thrust MCT, give the airplane maximum continuous thrust available for single engine. The auto thrust is still engaged, the auto flight is still engaged, everything is still working just fine. Airbus 1, continue right turn, fly heading 320. 320 for Airbus 1. All right, we're in the right turn now, coming 4,000. All right, read status. Okay, one pack only if wing anti-ice on. Wing anti-ice is not on, but I'm going to protect the good engine, engine 1, and I'm also going to unload the pack. I'm going to go APU bleed on. Now this is because I know I've got an engine 2 fail and the cross bleed is shut. I can use the APU bleed. This is deeper systems knowledge here. If engine 1 was failed and I blew the bottle, I'm not going to be able to use the APU bleed. All right, air cross bleed fault, avoid icing conditions, clear air, clear air. Land ASAP. Whenever you see that on that ECAM, that means you better be getting ready to come back around and land. So we're going to continue to keep coming around. 360. Other in-up systems. Wing anti-ice, Cat 3 dual, engine 2 bleed, Pack 2, Gen 2, Y engine 2 pump. Okay, clear status. Clear status. ECAM's complete. Now the pilot running the ECAM is going to go to the COM or the company procedure, and we're going to go on with the rest of the checklist. But before I do that, since I'm doing the work of 2 crew members here, I'm going to set up for ILS 16 center, insert, and we'll go ahead and clear P-pause, anvil, and we'll adjust that heading. We'll fly heading 340 on the heading. And I'm going to go ahead and select speed. I'm going to bump it up just a little bit. I'm going to do 220 on the speed, just above green dot. All right. So now, unfortunately, you're not able to see this, but if you have an FCOM or something, you can go through an engine failure or shutdown checklist. So we've had an engine failure in flight. Let me pull up my iPad. All right, engine 1-2 fail. Land ASAP. Before takeoff or after landing, thrust lever affected engine idle. It said idle. Engine master affected engine off. It's off. If damaged, engine fire push button push. It's pushed. Agent 1 discharge. It's discharged. If no damage, that does not apply. All right, associated procedures. Engine 1-2 shutdown complete. So I need to go to the engine 1-2 shutdown checklist now because we shut it down, right? So we got to secure this engine. Make sure that we are good to keep going. Now, all the while that I would be doing this, you've got the first officer setting up for the approach into 16 center, but I can't do the work of 2 people at once here, so I'll try my best. I'm going to get to the engine 1-2 shutdown. All right. If wing anti-ice on, it is not. If electric emergency configuration, that does not apply. If engine fire push button switch is not pushed, that does not apply. Engine 1-2 shutdown continued. Engine mode selector ignition. It's in ignition. If no fuel leak, imbalance monitor. So back here we're double checking our fuel leak. We still got, we don't have a fuel leak. You can see we've got a slight imbalance, but that's normal. So we don't have a fuel leak. We'll just continue to monitor that. TCAS mode select TA. It's in TA. We can see TA only here on our ND. If reverse unlocked, that does not apply. If engine fire push button switch is pushed, which it is, cross bleed shut. It is shut. Wing anti-ice off. Wing anti-ice is off. Avoid icing conditions. So again, I've got my engine 1 on. I've got my APU bleed on to unload the pack, but I have the cross bleed shut because we've got that bottle pushed. Secondary failures, hydraulic, electric, and air bleed. In some conditions with full asymmetric power, the aircraft may be control limited before reaching the protection system limit. Therefore, in extreme conditions where low speed may be advantageous, such as the jip whiz or a wind shear, reduce speed with care below VLS and respect the minimum control speed. The flight crew should not select gear down too early as large amounts of power will be required to maintain level flight at high weights and or high altitude airports. So I'm looking at my weight. I can see that I'm overweight for this airplane, 137,788. I'm definitely a little bit overweight, about 8,000 pounds. That's okay. I'm going to accept that. We're going to continue on. When we got land ASAP up there, we're doing an overweight landing. Now in the sim, in your check ride, you probably won't have that, but I'm simulating 320 weights here pretty much. A 320, 145, 505 for landing weights. So the load that I had on the airplane, I did it for simulation purposes. I wasn't intending for us to be overweight, but that's why. Because I wanted that climb out to be a little bit slower. If I had us at a lighter weight, we would have reached acceleration altitude much quicker, and it would have just been a lot of work for me to do here single pilot. I might have to do it with a dual crew with Phantom one time, and then you'll see the speed at which things happen. But as I'm reading through the econ or the comm procedure here, you guys see that everything that it's telling me to do, I've already done because the ECAM has told me to do it. This is what I was talking about on that last stream. It's like if you follow the ECAM and the Airbus, you're going to be okay because the Airbus is going to tell you what you need to do to stay alive and stay flying. So there's a bunch of other stuff going on. For 319, if aircraft icing, severe, wind speed, alpha prod, so we're not in severe icing, that does not apply. If reverser's out, it does not apply. There's a bunch of other failures. If no damage, that does not apply. The last thing at the end of the procedure says if available, the APU may be started and the APU generator used. If the engine fire push button switch is pushed, APU bleed must not be used. If engine 2 fire push button switch is pushed, APU bleed may be used provided the cross bleed rotary is shut. And we already knew that because we knew our systems because we were in a study level airplane, so we had this shut. I knew I could use APU bleed. If we had an opposite failure of engine 1, we could not use APU bleed. We would not be able to unload the pack. After landing, fuel use value of the engine shut down and flight becomes incorrect. Okay, I don't really care about that. That's the end of procedure. The comm's complete. Where are we at? At this point, Phantom 320 should have us on final for 16 center. So now we got to quickly get the airplane set up here. LS push buttons on. I am going to use low auto brakes. Perf data here. Next phase, next phase, next phase. Altimeters were 3048. Temperature was like 8 degrees and the winds were calm. And the MDA for Seattle 16 center, let me pull it up here. And we're going to hand fly it on the final approach fix inbound. That's something that you're expected to do as well on your type ride, is to hand fly a single engine ILS. So what am I looking for? ILS 16 center Cat 1. And the minimum's DA 630, so we're not adding any additive. It is a DA. 630 is set. And one last thing, make sure the box is sequenced. So activate, confirm. All right, we are pretty much set up. I'm going to go ahead and turn right, heading 050. As a matter of fact, I think we're far enough out. Airbus 1, when able, proceed direct Anvil. No, actually, we'll just do it this way. Fly heading 0080. Maintain 3000 till established. Cleared ILS 16 center. We got crash, fire, and rescue standing by. All right, so we're cleared approach 080 on the heading. I'm going to go approach push button armed. Autopilot 2. You can see now we're Cat 3 single. We are not Cat 3 dual. So we can still do a Cat 3 approach, but there's different stipulations that apply. We're going to continue that right turn. Let's make it 135 there. And I'm also going to reduce speed to 180 knots. And all right, have any questions? No questions. There's our VFE next, -10. We'll go flaps 1. Here we go. So we are all set up. Single engine configuration. Now we can take a break here. Take a breath. Get back to the chat. Phantom 320 has entered the chat. Hey, about time you showed up, man. Now that I did all your work for you. No, you got a good point. Airbus Checkride stream, dual crew, man. Phantom, we got to try it this week, man. I don't know what your schedule's like, but I'm going to have some more time this week, so maybe we can get together and try something here. I would love to be able to do a dual crew Checkride stream with you. We can work through ECAMs and definitely a little bit different pace when you have two guys up here. All right, speed alt star. There's VFE next, -10. I'm going to go flaps 2. All right, so one thing to pay attention now, when you're hand flying the ILS, With thrust changes, some guys will turn the auto thrust off, single engine. I prefer to keep it on, and it just depends. With thrust changes, oh, you can see it. Oh, come on, you can do it. With thrust changes, you're going to have yaw changes, right? Because you're single engine, so you have to kind of anticipate that rudder pressure leading in or leading out. As thrust comes up, you're going to need to increase that rudder pressure. As thrust comes back, you're going to have to pull that rudder pressure back. Now, if you're in trim, you really shouldn't have to move the rudder pedals too much. It's just going to be very minute adjustments. Less is more. Less is more when you're a single engine. That is absolutely correct. We're going to take it down to 630. Hopefully we can see the runway. Let me make sure my weather minimums are proper. 3 miles visibility. Let's bump it up a little bit. I just want to make sure we can see the runway when we get down there. I don't want to do a go around. Would you brief a go around in that situation, 777? If you have a special single engine go around, I mean, since we just did one, but yeah, that would be something to be considered if you got a lot of terrain or whatever. Like, hey, if we have to go mist, I'm going to ask for alternate mist approach instructions. You know, I want the least amount of work as possible when you're single engine. So I would ask the controller, hey, in the event of a mist approach, can we just get straight out and radar vectors? That way you don't have to worry about complying with any single engine procedures going out on top of flying the airplane with one engine. So that's something that you would probably talk about. You'd want to brief. But at this point, anytime you got land ASAP on there, you're really focused on getting that airplane down. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and manage speed. I don't want to select gear down too early, but I know I'm on the glide slope. If we do have to go mist, it's at or above 2,000, so I got 2,000 blue. I'm going to go ahead and select gear down now. We're on the slope. We're coming down. Once we reach Soto, I will turn the autopilot off and we'll hand fly. There's VFE next -10. Select flaps 3. Marcus, welcome to Commercial Pilot, my friend. Welcome aboard, dude. Exclamation point, welcome. For any more, for more information on your perks, I wish I was a little bit more interactive with you guys today in chat, but this stream is keeping me busy. I hope you understand that. But welcome aboard. Glad to have you on the V1 community, sir.
2,000.
All right, down, armed, ding the flight attendants, landing checklist, cabin crew advised, auto thrust, that is speed, ECAM memo, landing all green. Landing checklist is complete, and here's Soto, autopilot off. So now single engine, we are Cat 1 with autopilot off. We're just going to hand fly it now. We're going to follow the flight directors. Remember, less is more. The airplane is pretty much in trim from when I trimmed it when we took off. So just this is where having a good quality rudder set is definitely beneficial. But whenever you hear that thrust moving, you can expect some type of yaw change when you're single engine. So you always want to be anticipating. But less is more here. Less is more. Landing check is if I didn't already. Cabin crew advised, auto thrust speed, auto brakes are low, ECAM memo, landing all green. One thing I also forgot to tell you guys is in a single engine, personally I'm going to use idle reverse, help with that yaw. If you go full reverse on one engine, a little bit harder to control. You can do it. If I needed to, I would do it, but we got a long dry runway here in Seattle, so I'm just going to use auto brakes low and idle reverse, let the airplane slow to a stop. We're going to stop on the runway. Runway in sight, landing. Yeah, we could have come down a lot further actually. That we're still, shoot, we still got 400 feet to minimums. Your examiner or your IP is probably not that nice. You're going to take this sucker all the way down to minimums. Pilot monitoring will see the approach lights. You'll continue to 100 feet above touchdown, and then you'll see the runway. So I was a little bit nice to myself here by letting me break out when we did.
400. 100 above.
Again, a little bit of yaw moment when you bring that thrust to idle as well.
Terrain.
I don't know why that's going off.
Terrain.
Interesting.
Terrain.
40, 30, 20, retard, 10,
A little bit of yaw moment.
5.
Spoilers. Reverse screen. Idle reverse. Decel. Just keeping her on the runway. Manual brakes. 70 knots. Stow the bucket. Get her stopped, nice and easy. Set the parking brake. Flight attendant stations. Get them armed. And now we're going to assess the situation here. What is the next step? Are we going to do an evacuation? Are we going to have fire trucks inspecting the aircraft? What is going to happen? But that right there will pretty much conclude your V1 cut profile. And we are back on the ground. So that was pretty good. 146, 46 feet above threshold, 1 foot from center line. That is straight juice, if you ask me. Let's take a look at that replay there on that single engine landing. And there we go. We'll go ahead and take a look at this. But ramen noodles, emergency butter. That's emergency butter. Oh yeah, that's emergency. That should land single engine all the time. Shoot. Nice idle reverse. In a situation like that, you're just staying calm, keeping the airplane flying. Don't make any hastily decisions. You're going to get a little yaw here at the end when that thrust starts moving. Just keep your center line control and get her down. How accurate is the flight model to Toliss? I'd say it's pretty darn accurate, man. I mean, it's pretty good. I wish I had better rudders, like physical rudders. You see they're getting back on that center line. Then I think I could state a little bit more, but for the most part, I mean, I enjoy it. And the E-cams that you saw are almost verbatim of what would have happened in the real airplane. So that's one thing that I wanted to do, wanted to show you guys. That update that came out, I mean, the Toliss team, they're working on little stuff that you guys will probably never see in your day-to-day stream. Pre-Groove, thank you for the $5 donation, man. Appreciate it. It says great. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support on the channel, man. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, let's end that. One thing I said, so to finish this stream, what we're going to do is I'm going to reload. And the last thing we're going to do, since I wanted to do it, we didn't do it yet, is we are going to do a RTO to an evacuation, and then that'll conclude the stream. So we'll start new flight, we'll reset this, and then that's going to start wrapping it up. Do you guys have anything you want to see? We got a little bit of extra time. That actually went by a little bit quicker than I thought, but what I was planning to do here is to do that engine fire on the runway, and then we'll do an evacuation, a full-blown evacuation. Because I actually haven't done that in the Toliss. I'm curious to see how it handles. You guys want to see daytime? You said it was a little too dark. We'll brighten it up for you. Snipey from Mars says V1. So when pilots say flight sim won't help you land a real airliner, would you say they're incorrect? I would definitely say that's incorrect. I mean, a flight sim, depending on the flight sim, right? I mean, I definitely think X-Plane can be used as a tool, and I've used X-Plane as a tool. I mean, before I went to my recurrent, I told you guys, like, hey, I'm gonna be in the sim, so I actually loaded up this airplane, the Toliss A319, and I went through the V1 cut procedure. And when I saw the E-cam being as accurate as it was, like, wow, this is pretty good. It's just it can definitely be used as a tool with proper techniques. I mean, if you don't have any instruction behind it, I think it's a little bit harder, but it definitely can be used as a tool. I would have used FS Labs, but it's so much, I'm so not used to that sim. It just feels so clunky to me. But the FS Labs also is really good. I actually used the FS Labs before you guys even knew this channel existed, really. But when I was just messing around, I used the FS Labs on the FSX days for training purposes. So I definitely think it can help, man. All right. This is X-Plane 11. That is correct, Angel Lawrence. This is X-Plane 11. All right, so what I'll do here is we're going to change this fault to an engine, let's do an engine 1 fire. And we'll do a super high speed. We'll do 130, well, let's see. So we'll do it at 127 knots. apply. All right, auto brakes max. Takeoff config. And flight attendants on. All right, so this is the last one we're going to do. This will be an engine fire, rejected takeoff, and to an evacuation. Forewarning you, I've never done the evac on the Toliss. We'll see what happens. One other thing to note here is on the RTO, in real life, when you're going down the runway, get your heels on the floor, because if you have to reject that max auto braking, you want it to take over. If you step on the brakes, you'll disengage the max auto brakes, and if you don't actively get on your toes and smash the brakes yourself, you're really going to increase the distance to slow down. So it's a good habit to keep those heels on the floor as you're going, because if you get an RTO, you want the auto brakes to kick in and slow you down. All right, here we go. Last one, let's fire it up. No pun intended. Here we go. Spool them up. And we're gonna we'll do a Toga here too. So we get maximum yaw. Man Toga, SRS runway, auto thrust blue. Here we go. I say I have a hard time with my rudders just keeping it straight. 80 knots thrust set. Reject, I have control. Manual brakes. 70 knots. Jeez. Down to aircraft stop. Engine 1 fire. Parking brake set. Flight attendant stations. Alright, let's fight the fire. Engine 1 fire. Thrust lever 1 idle. It is an idle. Engine master 1 off. Engine 1 master off. Agent 1+2, or I'm sorry, I skipped one. Engine fire, push button 1 push. Confirm engine 1 fire, push button, confirm. Push. Agent 1+2, discharge. Discharge. Agent 1. Agent 2. And take a little bit, that's an accurate delay that you see there as well. In the discharge. Make sure that second bottle discharges. Discharge. Matt Perry, thank you for the subscribe, man. In the middle of an engine fire here. All right, Agent 1+2 discharge. Engine master 2 off. Engine master 2 off. Now you're going to be down to your emergency radios, notified tower. Now that's interesting. I should have... that's interesting. That shuts off the electric. I should have battery power for one screen, right? Phantom, are you still in the chat? I'm pretty sure I should have battery power there. So the evac checklist, emergency evacuation checklist, aircraft parking brake, stop on. It is on. Crew PA, flight attendant stations, I already did that. ATC has been notified, Phantom called that. Monitor the change in pressure. If not 0, engine master 2 off, fire push buttons, engine APU push. So at this point, they want you to secure everything. Agents, engine and APU, you would discharge them. If evacuation required, PA evacuate, evacuate, evacuate. So evacuate command push button. Coming over here. Evacuate, 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 and you would begin the evacuation. So doors are open, evac is going on, and hopefully by this time the fire is out. Now if you saw fire on this side, you're not going to be evacuating off this side of the airplane. That's going to be a flight attendant thing. They're going to know not to open those doors. You're going to be blowing slides out aircraft right here in this scenario. And hopefully by this time the fire trucks are there and everything is under control. But that is a V1, or that's a engine fire prior to V1 to an RTO with an evacuation. But, yeah, I got the feeling of movement there. But there you go, guys. So that, throw you into replay mode here. We'll take a look at this RTO. And And we're going to start to wrap it up. Wow, that came way back here. We'll watch it from the wing view. Oh, I still have that. That's going to be annoying. There we go. We'll watch it from engine 1 here. Yeah, battery essential should be available there, Goman. Yeah, I should have the Captain McDo and 1 ECAM. Fubar says, thanks for all these scenarios. This is awesome. There's our fire. Cord the engine. RTO, maintain directional control. I don't know why the speed brakes went back down there. There they are. But yeah, I should have had battery essential. Were the batteries on? Yeah, batteries are on. So yeah, I'm just missing a screen or two there on the evac. But that'll wrap it up, guys. Watch it from the tower view. See what the fire looks like from the tower. Dougal says, awesome stuff. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Dougal. Appreciate it. Miss Jungles, thank you. Mod sponsors, donors, thank you for hanging out with me today. Went through the tower there. That's what there's our engine fire. Everyone else hanging out in chat, thank you for being with me on this lovely Saturday afternoon. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I hope you learned something here on the Airbus. I do apologize for it being a little bit of a fire hose type of stream, but I thought it would be a good change, good mix-up here instead of just going from A to B. So I really appreciate you guys, all your support, all the comments. You guys are awesome. Until next time, I'm V1. You guys stay safe, stay healthy. See ya!